Hello and welcome to Glorious Miniatures. My name is Jolyon, and in today's video we will be building this miniature right here and its couple of little friends, the NEUROTYRANT. Frankly, I've forgotten what those little floaty things are called, but we will be building those as well. Those really aren't going to be the main focus of the video though. But yep, this is the kit that we're going to be building. It is from the Warhammer 40,000 10th edition box Leviathan. Without further ado, let's just get into it. So, starting off, these are the parts we're going to cut off the spruce straight away. That's going to be our first focus. We're going to build the little two things later. We got our plastic glue. I've got new extra thin glue, as you can see, and the Revel contact glue again, which is my personal favorite. We're going to get these parts off. We've got two sides of the main sort of floating torso, and got like little arms and legs as well, which are sort of withered and, I don't know, atrophied or atrophied or however you want to pronounce that particular word. I do have a little, I have to ponder later on about the sort of armored shield sort of around its head later on. Am I going to glue that on now or am I going to do it later? Because I'm slightly concerned about access to it when it comes to the painting side of things. Anyway, we're going to get those parts and we're going to start cleaning them up. Going to scrape them safely with the knife. While I'm doing that, you could check out my website at gloriousminiatures.com. I will be doing more blogging over there. I also have a shop up and running once I've got the house move out of the way, and these videos will get updated as well. And also, hopefully in the future, we'll also have a sort of members zone, such as it is, and with exclusive content. That is the glue. We've almost finished this one. In fact, I think I come to the end of this glue during this video. Certainly, I certainly hope so, because it's been driving me around the bend. Anyway, we've going to get some of that glue into where the posts go into, like so. And in fact, we're going to use the glue that I like to use. I've finally come to the end of that one. So I'm going to drop some glue into these little post holes there. A couple of those holes are where the limbs go into, so just double check where you're putting the glue into and line those parts up. Line them up hopefully correctly. It took me a bit too long there to get that done, but yes, we got there in the end. Apply some pressure, and I'm going to get some of this extra thin cement right here and just run that along the sides just to make sure it's properly glued together and sealed. Not too complicated. And that's it. We've got the left arms, or left limbs, whatever you want to call them. They go into these two parts here, and there is a sort of extra nodule on these limbs that sort of locks into the right position. If you really don't like that position, I suppose you could chop that little bit off and rotate it exactly how you wish, but that's not a big deal. I'm going to start with the bottom limb, and then once that's in place, I will move up the top limb. They both sort of just hang there like that. It floats. I'm not really keen on the sort of floating variety of tyranids. There's something about them which kind of, I don't know what it is about them. I'm just not keen on the sort of aesthetic of it. I know they're psychic and they can power themselves around with just their own brains, but yeah, it's not for me. Anyway. So we got which part is this? This is a sort of brain protecting bit, I think, which has got a couple of sort of parasitic bits on here. Here's one part that I'm going to get some of those posts chopped off there, and these are the two parasitic bits which sort of control it, I guess. Or work in conjunction with it. Maybe it's not parasitic, maybe it's what's that other word? Let me know in the comments below. I do know the word, I promise, but right now I don't. It's completely gone AWOL. Anyway, they've sort of attached itself couple onto its sort of back, and I don't know, there's some nasty tyranid sort of stuff, I guess. A little bit of extra glue in there, make sure we got the right angle. There we go. Apply a bit of pressure. As you can see, they have sort of tails, and there we go. It sort of goes on. How is this going to go on? So the top two, excuse me, not the top two. One at the top and the one at the bottom, I believe, are the ones which are going to go onto those posts on that body, leaving the middle one clear, I think. Is that correct? There are a couple of posts which you need to leave spare for these sort of spines running on the back. When you check the instructions, obviously, it'll become very obvious. Add some glue to that, apply a bit of pressure, and we're just going to chop off this part. This is the sort of spinal bit, which we will be attaching the back right here. As you can see, just put a bit of extra glue there. Line that up. Get that in place. Add a little bit more extra glue. Nice and easy, just like that. All right, as you can see, that is the majority of this thing. It does a sort of attach to a bit of the scenic bit of base. Here is the, I don't know what to call it, like a crown sort of thing. It goes around the brain. I have been pondering this. I was tempted to glue this on separately, but I'm going to check there. I can get the brush to all the parts required, so I am in fact just going to glue this on. I'm just going to tidy up a couple of these little bits and pieces as we progress. Then we're just going to glue this on nice and easily. However, I am going to keep the entire thing separate from the base. I have decided that, just to really make sure I can get the brush to all the parts required. I will attach it, glue it to the base once we've painted it. That is a bit away. So this is the sort of base. That's what you want to call it. Put a bit of extra glue there. Going to line it up. Probably get some thin glue as well. Just run that around the sides. That's the majority of it. It's quite a neat, I guess, design for the floaty variety. This is... Ooh, hello. How the devil? I struggled. This was a bit of a struggle. Gonna be honest. I did eventually figure it out. But this is why it's always good to test fit rather than just put glue down and assume it's going to go together correctly. So, yeah, this is me struggling. Good to show these sorts of things. Building these kits and painting these kits don't always go as smoothly as one would like or as one would assume. But I'm going to put some glue in. I have test fitted it. I know vaguely how it's going to go together, and now we're going to test it. Is it going to go together this time? No. See, I think I brute force it like an idiot. But we get there. This is some quality building here. I should have probably cut this out of the video, shaved probably a few minutes out of the, saved a few minutes of your time. Most important thing there is, and but also I figured it is good to show that I'm not perfect. I know you might consider, hey, I'm definitely not perfect, and I definitely do make mistakes when it comes to building kits. We get there in the end though, thankfully. Going to apply some pressure there. There's a tiny bit of extra glue which I have to clean up right there. I am going to put some extra thin glue along just to make sure it's nicely sealed together. Don't want that sort of coming apart during painting or whatnot. There we go. It was a bit of a weird fit, that sort of bony carapace bit around the brain. It was a slightly strange fit. Maybe there was an easier way of it sort of going together that I completely missed due to just being oblivious. It's a possibility. It certainly happened before and definitely going to happen again. We're just going to keep some pressure on there just for a little bit longer, and then we can move on to the next phase. Okay, and as I said before, it does attach to the base. There's a sort of a post, as you can see. There's one part of it. You can see those two holes in it right there. It does attach to that. But I will be painting the base and the actual miniature itself separate, just to really make sure that I can get to all the bits that I want to. So it's going to do that, apply a bit of pressure, run some glue along there. I do in fact end up sanding that to join down a little bit later as well. but that's entirely a sort of personal preference. Just going to make sure that goes there. Just scrape that seam line just a little bit. Remove a little bit of that excess, make it a bit less obvious. As I said, I will sand it down, but I sand it down off camera, so I just use I think it's almost like a nail file kind of thing. That's how it goes on the post right there. There are a couple of little sort of mounting lugs. Can't quite see it from this angle, but it's easy to sort of put on there temporarily. And that's all there is to it, really. So yeah, I am slowly trying to use this second camera angle. I do record with two cameras currently. Kind of works sometimes for like a sort of reverse B-roll camera, something like that. Sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, so that's that. Yeah, it's, that weird bit of carapace around the brain was the main issue when it came to this kit. Otherwise, it's relatively simple. I assume the carapace bit around the brain was the main issue, was a me problem rather than anything else. Anyway, we're going to move on to these sort of little floaty friends that this thing has. Got two of them. I think they each have two parts. There's a sort of the main bit and another bit which you sort of attach to them. So we're just going to chop those off the sprue, as you see, and we got them in two little piles right here. I'm just going to clean them up with the blade relatively nice and quickly. We are just going to use this alternate angle just so the top down angle isn't completely boring you to death. We are going to do this sort of other view. I did try flipping this camera like 180 degrees, but it looked very strange. It looked like I was doing this sort of on the ceiling or something, and it looks weird. Anyway, just needs a little bit of glue on that post, and then you sort of attach the sort of other bit to it, the sort of the extra tentacle, and then attach it to the base. It's really quite easy. Yeah, see? Look at that. Even I can do that without struggling too much. And there's that alternate angle again. That's all there is to it. And here we have a little bit of the finished built kits. Would I get another one of these? I don't know. I don't know. I will be painting this with a brush rather than an airbrush, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get another one to airbrush later on. Who knows? Who knows? I certainly don't. But it wasn't a terrible kit to build. Got there in the end. Thank you very much for watching. That's all I got to say, really. In fact, talking about the painting of it, I will be painting this up on this YouTube channel. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. If you want to like, subscribe, the bell for notifications, you won't miss that video when it goes live in the future. And that is all I got to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.